Okay, moving on to the pound dollar now. I'll go through this daily chart first because obviously I took a trade here on what was it, Wednesday, sort of early Thursday. It was triggered, and I was basically just kind of trying to cover what I have already been in at that 1.6 area because I obviously see scope for a wee bit of a bounce on this pair. We made the TD buy setup, and we've had to wait a long time to finally make a thrust bar, and so I mean the trade was going along okay, and I moved it to break even. We were about 160 pips at one point, but obviously we've come back down now, and it's been taken out for break even, which I'm not really just too fussed over. I mean, obviously I see a bounce here, but I don't really expect it to last too long. We were only on bar 4 of the weekly buy setup, so kind of expecting to see this come down and test at least the 1.3844 before we see any sort of significant bounce on a longer term basis. Obviously, I just said in the pound yen video that I do expect to see a wee bit of a bounce because we have made this thrust bar now, but I don't expect any of these bounces to get very far. I mean, pound dollar, we've got this 1.4915 level, and we've got the 1.4892, which obviously held the market up before, and ultimately the 1.5128 level, which I would certainly look to get involved in if we had another go at that level. But yeah, so the other reason I took this trade is because we do have the buy setup on the monthly chart. But as I said before, we've seen these things before, and they can go lower obviously after the ninth bar before we finally get the TDF buy setup, which is why I introduced the thrust bar method to uh, to try and catch the actual move once it finally happens. So you can see on this setup here we had quite a few months before it actually bounced. So we could see the same scenario here on the pound dollar, but obviously a monthly buy setup, we could see a wee bit of a bounce, which is why I was trying to cover what I had. But I'm not really too worried about it. I think we could possibly get other opportunities to get involved here anyway. So yeah, so at the moment anyway, there's not really a great deal to play with here either on this pound dollar based on the TD stuff on the lower time frames, 4 hour or 1 hour. I mean, we've removed the TDST resistance on the 4 hour to the close now. Although we're back down below it now, it still does sort of encourage the bulls a bit more. So I think basically it's just a bit of a wait and see now, having been taken out of this inside day breakout trade. Just kind of wait and see. I mean, we could go down to get this second target, and then obviously on the weekly, I still do actually see it coming down here, which is where I'm going to come out on this trade, and then look to get involved again at a later date. So I mean, in terms of the whole sort of TD situation, so we're on bar 4, so we'll be on bar 5 going into this week, and then let's see. So this will be bar. Where am I here? Okay, so we'll change this to June. So this will be bar 5, bar 6, bar 7, bar 8, bar 9. So bar 9 is going to come on the end of the month. So if we look at this on a monthly basis, we're only going to have one more candle here, and then we'll have a buy set up on the weekly chart. So we can easily pop a little bit lower here before we get the bounce on the monthly. I mean, certainly if we do go a wee bit lower and we bounce from the TDST support at 1.3844, and then we make a buy setup on the weekly chart, having already got this buy setup in place on the monthly chart, then we could actually see quite a significant bounce from here. So when we get closer to this level, I'll keep an eye on it, but I would certainly be starting to look to buy a bounce from this level once we come down here, because hopefully by the time we get there we'll be making a buy setup on the weekly, and we'll already have one on the monthly, and then we could have another one on the daily. So we could get a really good opportunity coming up here looking at that monthly and weekly situation here. So we'll keep an eye on that. I'm going to change the target here to 1.3850 and see how we go from there, and then we could possibly look to find some other levels to sell at a later date, but certainly looking for it to possibly make a small intra-week bounce on the daily, and then ultimately get down to that 1.3844 on the weekly, hopefully in about 3 or 4 weeks, and then we'll produce a buy setup at the same time, and then on the monthly we'll have one more candle here, and then we'll maybe see a bit of a bounce. So that's the kind of scenario that I'm looking for here. So hopefully that'll play out. But at the moment, I don't really see any kind of great levels or anything to trade. But we do sort of, there is the threat here of a bounce basically on the daily chart. But I don't really see anything I'd like to look at to get involved here. So we'll just have to wait and see. But I'll do another video on Monday and see where we lie after that. Okay, cheers.